Hello everyone, welcome back to Luke's Movie Talk, where I go over some of the most recent movies I've been watching. Just before I start, I uploaded a review for the new Prime movie Samaritan, so if you're interested, go give that a watch. And also make sure to like and subscribe to keep up to date with all future uploads. But for this video, I actually went and saw a double bill of both Top Gun films. So to start off, I'll go over some of the plot. So Maverick, who's Tom Cruise, and Goose are two of the best pilots in the Navy, so are sent to join the elite team of Top Gun. The whole movie is about them training to be the best. During this time, Maverick gets into a romantic relationship with his instructor Charlie, who has mixed feelings about the whole thing. She thinks this way because obviously she's his teacher. Even though they're pretty close in age, she obviously sees herself in a role of authority and doesn't feel like it's acceptable to be in a relationship with a student, technically. During the missions, they spend time with their friends and family. This is the time where we meet Goose's wife and son, and they are just so lovely. They love Goose. They're such a lovely, tight-knit family, and they all go to the bar with Maverick and end up singing. I think it's Great Balls of Fire. It's such a good scene with them, Goose playing on the piano and them all singing along, and it's such a lovely scene. During an exercise, an accident happens, leading to the death of Goose. Maverick blames himself, but he is cleared of all wrongdoing, and no one blames him. This is a section of the movie that is, in comparison, a lot darker because it comes out of nowhere and Maverick is just distraught. He doesn't know what to do. He can't fly properly. His mind's all over the place. He even visits Goose's family, and the wife doesn't blame him. She even speaks about how Goose loved to fly with him and probably wouldn't have done it without him. And Maverick just, he loved Goose. He thought of him as his own brother, and he is just all over the place and does not know what to do. As a result of this trauma then, Maverick ends up leaving, but is eventually convinced to finish the course by his mentor, Viper. Viper is basically the original Top Gun candidate who, I believe it was he won the first Top Gun trophy, and he's like the top of the top and everyone looks up to him. During the celebration, an emergency call comes in and they are sent on an actual mission. And after some tense encounters, Maverick saves his wingman, Iceman, and everyone celebrates on the carrier, I think it's called, the warship, whatever it was. But yeah, they all end up, one of the planes ends up crashing and Iceman is by himself, and then Maverick comes in after a second of like, oh, what do I do, Goose? He basically mentally slaps himself and goes, I can do this. Goes in, saves Iceman, and they all get out of there, and it's a really heartwarming. So yeah, I love this film. It was such a fun trip, really. The camaraderie between all the pilots, the families, and the budding relationships for Tom Cruise. It's such a good film. It's such heartwarming to see, even with Goose's death, like a heartwarming ending, and it was like everyone got brought together and all smiles at the end. Tom Cruise and his acting are literal top tier acting. Even small facial expressions garner some emotional response, like when he's talking about Goose and when he's talking to the wife about him. It made me cry as well because the subtle face movements and like his eyes watering up. It got to me as well. Like Tom Cruise is just that level of actor. Cruise and Edwards build and show a real brotherly bond, and the friendship between Mav and Goose is amazing because through the first half of the film, Maverick's the pilot and Goose is the rear man who like updates him on radars and everything, and they are just like they're literal brothers. Even though they're not blood related, they are brothers to the core, and they're always looking out for each other. They treat each other like brothers, and it's such a heartwarming relationship. And when Goose does end up dying, it destroys Maverick, as it would anyone who's lost their brother. And he has to, even though people say get over it, he has to get over it because Goose wouldn't want him to be distraught like this all the time. He'd want him to be the best pilot he can be, and he ends up doing that in the end. But they have just the best relationship throughout the film. Their families are all close, and it's such a lovely relationship they have with everyone. The camaraderie and competitiveness between the pilots is great to watch, especially between, I think it's Kazansky, Iceman. Like him and Maverick have the best like back and forth between each other because they know they're both really good pilots. They basically push each other to be the best. And when Iceman ends up winning the Top Gun trophy, Iceman and Maverick still come to a understanding that they're both really good and they both are the top and the best of the best. The music and the soundtrack in this film are absolutely amazing. Like just the Top Gun theme and the Danger Zone is is just the best. And then all the other songs just complement it all completely, and it draws you in, and you feel part of that. I think it was the '86 it came out. It just brings you into that time, and you just feel just so invested in the story. Goose's sudden death is just completely shocking because they're doing a training mission, and Iceman and his partner have to back out because they're too close. But because of it was a literal accident that Maverick had no control over, the engines on his jet end up failing, and when they eject out, Goose gets caught on the canopy, and it was just a complete accident. And when they landed in the water, I thought, oh, Goose is going to be fine, he's bleeding. And then they cut to the next scene with Tom Cruise in the washroom, and Viper comes in saying, oh, he's dead. I was like, what? Literally out of nowhere, and it shocked me completely. It shocked me as much as it did Maverick, and I was completely lost through that moment, as he was through the rest of the film. I was like, oh, okay, that's the kind of film I'm watching. The air fights with the MiGs are tense, especially the last one. There's one at the start isn't as much because Tom Cruise is almost like playfully flying with them, but the last one is very tense indeed, especially when the first jet gets taken down and Iceman has to contend by himself until Maverick comes back and Maverick ends up taking them out. It is really tense, and it's a really cool dogfight in the jet. I think the only negative I have for it is, even if it was for the pace and it makes sense that they did this, they cut a lot of the Top Gear training and the missions and glossed over and basically skipped a lot of it. They kept some of the big important moments, but they, like, at intervals, will be like, oh yeah, you're halfway through, oh, we're done now, and you've got a week left, and it's like, oh, okay, where did that all go? And that was basically my one little nitpick, because I feel like it would have been cool to see a couple more of the other things they do instead of the big moments in their training. But overall I enjoyed it, and it's probably done to keep the pace going as well as it was going, so it's probably done for the best anyway. But yeah, I love Top Gun. It was such a great film. I loved the relationships between the characters, the dogfighting and fighter jets, and the shocking twists and turns of Goose and Maverick's mental state. It was really good. I loved it, and I recommend you give it a watch if you're anyway interested in action or tense moments in films. It's such a great example of that. But yeah, that's all I've got for now. If you did like this video, make sure to like and subscribe to keep up to date with all future uploads. But until then, I will see you next time.